And I salute the senator from Vermont for the good job he has done in bringing this forward to the American people's attention. An overwhelming bipartisan majority in the House supports the $2,000 checks. Senate Democrats strongly support these 2,000 checks. And our unlikely ally, President Trump, this morning tweeted, 2,000 ASAP. For once, Democrats agree with something on President Trump's Twitter feed. Let's send $2,000 ASAP to working Americans who are facing the hardest and darkest days of the pandemic. After all the insanity that Senate Republicans have tolerated from President Trump, his attacks on the rule of law, an independent judiciary, the conduct that led to his impeachment, is this where Senate Republicans are going to draw the line? $2,000 checks to the American people? That is a bridge too far? Please. For the awareness of my colleagues, we can have this vote tonight and send the bill directly to the President's desk for signature. We can vote on the NDAA bill tonight and finish the Senate's business before the end of the year. All it takes is our Republican colleagues consenting to a simple vote on the House bill to provide $2,000 checks to the American people. Yes or no? Up or down? Do you support sending $2,000 to the American people or not? Let's have the vote. And so,
here we go.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of H.R. 9051, a bill received from the House to increase recovery rebate amounts to $2,000 for individuals, that the bill be read a third time and passed, and the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Is there objection?
Object.
Oh, here we go.
Objection is heard.
Mitch McConnell, once again, object.
Under the previous order, the leadership time is reserved. Under the previous order, the Senate will be in a period of morning business, with senators permitted to speak therein for up to 10 minutes each.
Mitch McConnell objects once again.
The senator for Vermont.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Oh, here we go, Bernie again.
I want to concur with what Senator Schumer said. And what he said goes beyond economics. It goes beyond the desperation that tens of millions of working families are facing. It goes beyond the struggles of the people of Vermont or Kentucky. And let me just make it clear for the majority leader that 10 out of the poorest 25 counties in the United States of America are located in Kentucky. So maybe my colleague, the majority leader, might want to get on the phone and start talking to working families in Kentucky and find out how they feel about the need for immediate help in terms of a $2,000 check per adult. And I have the strong feeling that the people of Kentucky will respond no differently than the people of Vermont or New York. This last poll that I saw had 78% of the American people saying that they wanted and needed that type of help. But this discussion, frankly, is not just about the economic struggling of working families in this country. It's not just the massive levels of income and wealth inequality. It's about basic democracy. Now, what we have to do here on the floor, whether it's Senator Schumer or Senator McConnell or me, we got to talk in legalese. That's the language of the United States Senate, and the stuff sounds pretty complicated to the average person. But all that Senator Schumer and I are asking of the majority leader is a very simple request. Allow the members of the United States Senate to cast a vote. If you want to vote against $2,000 checks for people in your state, vote against it. I see Senator Toomey here. He has been clear about it. I suspect he will vote against it. I respect his opinion. But all that we are asking for is a vote. What is the problem? In
That's a great
House,
question.
over 2/3 of the members of that body, including 44 Republicans, voted to say that at this time of economic desperation, working families deserve help and they deserve a $2,000 check. And as Senator Schumer just indicated, we have a very unlikely ally in President Trump. Nobody here has disagreed with Trump more times than I have. And yet here is what the leader of the Republican Party says. He says $2,000 ASAP. So even on this issue, amazingly enough, the President of the United States is right. So what all of this comes down to, my fellow Americans, is not even whether you agree with Senator Schumer and myself and 78% of the American people, or you agree with Senator McConnell, and I suspect Senator Toomey, that's fine. It's called democracy. We have differences of opinion. All that I am asking is give us a vote. What's the problem? Allow the United States senators to cast the vote as to whether or not they are for the $2,000 check or whether they're against it. We will need, as I understand it, 60 votes to win. That's a big hurdle. I don't know that we're going to win. There are a number of Republicans, to their credit, who have said they're ready to vote for it. I suspect there may be more, when given the opportunity, who will vote for it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we will lose.
But let them vote. Let them actually bring this to the floor for a vote.
All that I am asking for right now is give us the opportunity to vote. What is the problem with that? So, Mr. President, with that, I will now go to Senate legalese and say, quote, I ask unanimous consent that at 11:30 a.m. on Thursday, December 31st, the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of H.R. 9051 to provide a $2,000 direct payment to the working class, that the bill be considered, read a third time, and the Senate vote on passage of the bill without intervening action or debate. Further, that if passed, the motion to reconsider be considered, made, and laid upon the table. Further, that immediately following the vote on H.R. 9051, the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of the veto message on H.R. 6395, that the Senate immediately vote on passage of the bill, the objections of the President to the contrary notwithstanding, with no intervening action or debate.
Will he object?
Is there objection?
Mr. President.
The Senator for Pennsylvania.
Mr. President, reserving the right to object.
Oh, here we go. Pat Toomey.
Let me start by pointing out we are not in the same place that we were in back in March.
Let me rip off my glasses.
Our economy is in nothing like the situation we faced during a moment in March when this body came together and voted unanimously, I believe, for the most extraordinary aid package, financial stimulus bill,
Senator Pat Toomey from Pennsylvania,
in the history of the world by far. Remember where we were.
Telling us all that we are fine now. As he said this 3 times over the past few days. We are fine. We're totally different. We're totally different. We're totally fine.
State governments around the country decided they had to close it down. We can discuss, we can argue about whether that was a good decision or not, but given the limited knowledge we had about the nature of the COVID-19 threat, it was deemed to be the right thing to do.
Mr. President,
The Senator for Vermont.
Oh, Bernie.
My friend from Illinois on the issue. And I have a question for my colleague from Texas. Very
Give him a
simple question.
microphone.
You are concerned about the issue of corporate liability. I get that. I happen not to agree with you. You're entitled to your opinion. You may or may not be concerned about Section 230 of the 1996 Federal Telecommunications Bill. That's fine, too. We may have a discussion about how we protect American democracy. It's a good discussion as well. But I have the strong feeling, Senator Cornyn, that in Texas, as in Vermont, you know what? People are really not talking about corporate liability. It's a good issue. It's an important issue. I don't think they're talking about Section 230. What I think they are talking about, as the senator from Illinois just said, how they're going to feed their kids today. That is the issue.
He's even loud enough without a microphone.
My friend,
he's like, I don't need a microphone. I got this.
What is your problem with allowing the Senate to vote on whether or not we are going to allow Americans, working class people, to get a $2,000 check? Now, I gather that when that vote comes to the floor, and I hope it comes immediately, you'll vote no. And you'll explain to the people of Texas why you voted that way. That's called democracy. I respect that. But what is your problem with allowing the Senate to have a free-standing vote? There are a number of people on your side, Republicans, who have already come forward and say, yeah, they want to vote for this $2,000 check. Now, if you want to deal with corporate liability, that's fine. Let's deal with it at some point. Bring forth a bill. We can vote on it up or down. All that we are asking for is a simple up or down vote on the issue that tens of millions of people are talking about right now. Will they survive economically in the midst of this terrible pandemic? So I ask my colleague from Texas, what is the problem with allowing the U.S. Senate to vote on the bill passed by the House? And I yield to my colleague from Texas.
Mr. President.
This is Bernie Sanders asking John Cornyn.
Mr. President, I would say to our colleague from Vermont, I have no problem with providing assistance, whether it's to public health officials who are trying to struggle with this pandemic, or to provide money for the research for therapeutics or vaccine, which fortunately is now being distributed around the country. I have no objection to direct payments to individuals. I voted for the $1,200 direct payment contained in the CARES Act. I voted for the additional money that's provided for in the most recent COVID-19 legislation. But this legislation that the senator from Vermont is advocating would benefit households with annual income over $350,000. They would get this money. And I would say that one way to deal with this, because of course we negotiated back and forth on the last COVID-19 bill, nobody got everything they wanted, but if our colleagues on the other side of the aisle want an additional financial benefit to people making up to $350,000, why not couple it with liability protection for people who are acting in good faith? This isn't just about corporations, and our colleagues across the aisle know.
Of course it is.
This is about schools. This is about churches, synagogues, mosques. This is about every business that's worried that a game of gotcha is going to take place and they're going to end up paying the price. Even if they win the lawsuit, they will not be able to. They're still going to have to pay for the costs of defense, potentially losing their business outright.
If I could,
the senator from Texas has the floor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
So clearly, our colleagues across the aisle care more about trial lawyers and being able to bring litigation against businesses that have tried to do their best but have struggled dealing with the evolving public health guidance provided by the CDC and other authorities. Clearly, if they're not interested in engaging in a negotiation where people who, through no fault of their own, find themselves victimized by frivolous litigation, then we'd have no alternative but to continue to object to this request.
President,
the senator for Vermont.
If you listen carefully, you understood that my friend from Texas did not answer my question. He has a concern about corporate liability. It's a legitimate debate. You know what? Bring it to the floor. Let's vote it up or down. I will vote against it. You will vote for it. But I asked you a very simple question, not linking things together. Nobody in the real world understands that stuff. That's inside the Beltway stuff. What people in the real world know, and I want to take a moment to read some of these statements, because we have a lot of people on our social media, and we asked the American people, just the other day, we said, tell me, what would a $2,000 check mean to you? What's going on in your lives? And in just over 24 hours, I would say to my friend from Texas, nearly 6,000 people responded. And here is just what a few of them had to say. And we don't have, this is Twitter stuff, so I don't have their names here, and I wouldn't use it publicly anyhow, but this is what they say. One person writes, $2,000 is the difference between keeping our apartment and being evicted. Here's another. $2,000 means I can afford to feed my 3 kids. Another response, quote, it would mean not having to choose between rent and groceries or not having to ration my partner's meds, end quote. Another response, quote, I am raising my grandson with medical needs. I am $4,000 behind on utilities. We need electricity to run his medical equipment, end quote. Here's another response. $2,000 would mean I wouldn't have to worry about making my mortgage payment this month and that I could get my medication, end quote. Another response, $2,000 would mean paying my rent and getting life-saving treatment because I can't afford the $50 copay through my work insurance just to see my neurologist right now, end of quote. And on and on and on. Thousands of people responding. So I want to get back to the point, and I want to again ask my friend from Texas. You got a concern about corporate liability? Good issue. Bring it to the floor. Let's vote on corporate liability. I would yield for a question from my friend from Illinois.
Yield for a question through the chair. I've listened to the figures that have been used on the floor about families that could qualify for the $2,000. It's my understanding that an individual with an income of $75,000 or less could qualify for the $2,000 payment.
Exactly.
And a joint return, husband and wife, $2,000 could be given to them if their income is under $150,000.
Yes, exactly.
Is that your understanding?
Thank you, Dick. Yes.
And I think
there's a whole misconception about Republicans. They're making shit up.
Let it be. But I'll get back to my friend, my friend from Texas.
He's going to be nice.
We're asking a simple question. You want to bring up corporate liability? Bring it up. You want to bring up Section 230? Bring it up. You want to bring up the man on the moon? Bring it up. But what the American people want now is an up or down vote. Now, you're going to vote against it if it comes to the floor. That's fine. It's your right. Explain it to the people of Texas. I will vote for it. But all that I am asking for is the right as a United States Senator to have the vote. And again, I ask you, what is your problem with members of the United States Senate, including a number of Republicans who have already indicated they would like to vote for this? What's your problem with bringing that up as a single standalone bill, not merged with corporate liability or anything else? What's your problem with that?
Mr. President.
Senator for Texas.
Mr. President, I would say to our colleague from Vermont, this money is not targeted to people who suffered financial losses. It is not targeted to people who suffered financial losses.
You're full of crap.
This money would go to members of your own staff if they meet the financial requirements. Other government employees
if they made the financial requirements? Oh, you mean if they make less than $75,000 a year?
We've all suffered in different ways during the pandemic, to be sure, but financially, this money is designed to help the people who need it the most. Why would you send money to government employees that have been receiving their full paycheck during this pandemic?
That's a good question, and then I will have to explain that to the people of the state of Vermont.
The Senator for Texas has the floor.
He asked me a question as I understood it.
The Senator for Texas.
John, did you ask me a question? Did I?
The Senator for Texas.
It was more of a rhetorical question, Mr. President.
The Senator for Texas.
Mitch McConnell could bring this for an up or down vote and let senators vote on it. You know, they might not have the votes, and that's where it would be. But as we continue to see this floor debate tonight in the Senate, I mean, we saw some fireworks a short time ago between Bernie Sanders and Senator John Cornyn, calling him out for ignoring the questions about the people of Texas being hurt, suffering, taking on Senator Cornyn and Mitch McConnell, really destroying them tonight, where they couldn't even answer questions back to him and ignored his questions. Saying, have you not, by the way, seen all of the people in food lines, in food banks in the state of Texas, wrapped around city blocks? We've covered it here on the show. People in Houston, in their cars, waiting hours, trying to get out there at 5 in the morning just to get food. What about you right now? Let me know in the chat. Let me know, all of you watching live, how would this transform your life to have $2,000? What would it mean for you? Be honest. Would it be able to put food on your table? Would it be able to pay off some debt that you incurred because of COVID? Maybe, yes, you still have a job, but maybe you've had your hours dramatically reduced. If you're new here to the channel, we do this show live every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. We are a progressive morning news show, so we do this show every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time live. I hope you'll join us. You can subscribe right here. Just tap the little Santa hat if you're watching us right now on YouTube. Just tap the little Santa hat and hit subscribe. I would love to have you join us every morning. We've been doing these live sessions in the afternoon and evenings with this breaking news through the new year. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. You were looking live at the Senate just moments ago, where this incredible floor debate, we'll have a recap on this a little bit later tonight. Senator Bernie Sanders throwing some firebombs at Senator Cornyn and Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania. It was good. It's the most fun I've had watching the Senate in a while, I will say that. I saw some people saying here in the chat, this is better than a movie. Yeah, except it's true, and people's lives are on the line right now. And we get to see who the cockroaches are, who scurry out of the woodwork now because we shine a light on them. We get to see people like Senator Cornyn, who has no problem sending trillions of dollars to big businesses, oil, fracking companies. So remember that if you're in Texas. Don't forget that when this election happens. Or in Pennsylvania, Senator Pat Toomey, who's not running for re-election. He can get up there and say that, heavens, why should we be sending money to people that, don't deserve it? But he was fined to send $3 trillion in the spring, and much of that money going to big businesses. He's fined to vote on a $740 billion defense budget, lining the pockets of defense contractors. So thank you so much for joining us. Again, please subscribe to the channel, and if I brought you any value at all, and please smash that like button. I appreciate that. And I apologize again for the early audio problems at the beginning of the show, the broadcast tonight. We were having some audio feed issues getting it from the Senate, so we had to get a separate feed. Hey, that's breaking news. That's live television. Much love to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We will see you bright and early tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, so please subscribe and turn on that little bell notification so you'll get a notification as soon as we go live first thing in the morning. Again, we do this show 5 days a week. We are not bought and sold by mainstream media. We are independent journalism, and so we get to call BS and no one has to tell us what to say. So thanks so much, everyone. Much love to all of you. We will see you back here again bright and early tomorrow morning. Take care. Have a good